Alright guys, this video is going to give you an introduction to Native American mythology, more specifically North American mythology. So, the Native American tradition is an oral tradition, and it started when human beings first crossed from Asia over to Alaska through the Bering Strait, which is a land bridge that is now covered by the ocean between Alaska and Russia, basically. But basically, as their populations migrated south down from Alaska into the rest of the continental United States, we started seeing a lot of unique languages and cultures develop in response to all these different environments. So they spoke thousands of languages. They coalesced into small tribes that all had their own societies and their own beliefs and everything like that. Some were as different as English is from Chinese, but they were all spoken in the Americas, just in different aspects of it. So each one of these cultures developed their own stories and their own mythologies, and often these stories were not just things that they told to entertain each other, but they were actually sacred stories that were at the heart of their religious ceremonies. And their rituals were very important, and they were thought to link the spirits of the people in the village or in the tribe to the animals that they were working with and hunting and using all throughout their existence. But so these stories have evolved through hundreds of generations of this oral tradition, and they're still a living part of Native American traditions in the United States, where those cultures still exist. So the sacred earth is going to be a very important aspect of this. In Native American culture, the earth and all of the living things that inhabit it, including ourselves and the animals, are all sacred. They thought all of them had some sort of spiritual soul and things like that, so the taking of the life of an animal was something that was not done lightly, and it was something that you needed to thank them for or something like that. And basically they just saw that there were these forces of nature that were all part of a sacred cycle, and that most importantly, human beings have to treat the earth with respect. They did this through their tales, through their songs, but basically the main takeaway from Native American mythology is the idea that the natural world and the things in it are hugely sacred, and belong to everyone in common, that they cannot be owned by someone in particular. So Native American literature is an oral tradition, and it focuses on creation mythology and origin myths, which I'll discuss in just a second. So an oral tradition is basically just the idea that stories are passed down from one generation to another, told aloud, rather than actually being physically written down. A lot of Native American languages did not have a written language, and instead they focused on this oral tradition, which means that the stories change and grow along with the culture, which is something that's really, really beautiful about the oral tradition. But it also means that language is sacred, and that the word is hugely, hugely important to what they're trying to talk about. Creation mythology is just this idea that a lot of the stories in Native American mythology focus on how the world and human beings came into existence, or how specific animals or behaviors happened, and it's supposed to explain these kind of mysteries of the universe and of the world around them. Origin myths, same kind of thing, except that it's focusing more on natural phenomena. So how did the wind, the stars, the sun, the moon come to exist? Or why do certain tribes and societies have certain beliefs or customs or traditions? Archetypes are basically just repeated symbols, patterns, events, characters, landscapes, or whatever that are found in literature across different cultures, different eras. The hero's journey is one of the kind of more famous archetypal myths, and all kinds of things follow that, from like the Lord of the Rings to Batman to all kinds of stories that follow this hero myth, or the hero archetype. In Native American mythology, we're going to see things like creator gods or transformer gods is what they're also often called, and these are gods whose whole purpose is to create something or to change the way that the world exists in the time period. Native American mythology also relies very heavily on trickster gods, so these are gods that are going to mess with the status quo. They are neither entirely good nor entirely evil. Sometimes they can be creators, sometimes they're destroyers. It just kind of depends on the character. But tricksters are something that happen and appear a fair amount. Another example of an archetype from Native American mythology is the idea of doubling. So you'll have children who are twins but are born with opposing qualities from the same parent. So, one is good, one is evil. And basically the whole point of that archetype is to explain the eternal struggle between light and dark, between order and chaos, between good and evil, and how both of those things have to exist in order for the world to be in balance. You can't just have goodness and you can't just have evil. Otherwise the world wouldn't be in balance at all. So the whole purpose of these myths was to give people a sense of identity. It explained historical things about their tribes or why the way they are. It could be a way to ensure that people were going to be healthy or that there was going to be a lot of food. Sometimes it was a way to teach children moral lessons. Just in general, they were a very huge part of Native American society and daily culture. But again, highly ritualistic and often associated with kind of religious aspects of it. The last thing that we're going to talk about are the four directions. So in Native American mythology, balance is hugely, hugely important, and often that is described or that is shown using the four directions, so north, east, south, and west. These were symbolic things associated with that, so often they were described with colors. So like the west was always associated with the color black because it's where the sun goes to die at night, whereas the east was always associated with light and with birth because it's where the sun comes up in the morning. But these can be represented by colors. Sometimes they're described by animals, but again, the whole big thing about the four directions is this idea that the world has to be in balance. If the world is not in balance, then there's something very wrong. It needs to be fixed in some way, shape, or form. You can't just have good, you can't just have evil. A lot of these characters and gods that we're going to experience in this next unit are going to have a lot of different things going on, and they're not going to be just wholly good or wholly evil. They're going to have aspects of both. That's it for this PowerPoint. Hopefully you like this unit. I think it's pretty interesting, and hope it works for you. Thanks, guys.